So Jan Gold says, was that why NASA was defunded in the first place, to privatize space?
No, and it is much more pedantic and associated with the left-right divide. If you take a look at the people who were most against the space program in 1972, what were their names? Walter Mondale, Kennedy, Ted Kennedy, and the Democratic leadership. And what happened in April of 1968 when the Democratic convention was basically stormed. There was an insurrection at the Democratic convention. It scared the Democratic Party so terribly that they decided to take a populist, Great Society view and divert the funding and divert an entire 20-year stretch of investment in technology that had started at the end of, or even at the beginning of World War II, and divert that to social programs. And that is where Peter Thiel starts talking about from 0 to 1, that we haven't had the advances since that era of that shift. Because if you take a look at it, NASA's a rounding error in the department, in multiple department budgets. And I've done a blog showing the relative growth of these other entities. If we were putting, 150, 200, 300 billion a year in space, we would transform the world in a decade. So what happened, the government stepped away from space, but now it's taken us 35 to 40 years for the inflection point to where private enterprise and the finance to where people like Elon and Jeff, who now are people who love space and who are dedicating their lives, just like Bill Boeing, Jack Northrop, and those guys did to aviation. That's the difference.
But so let's pick it up where we are now, where, the first thing that we've seen, the last thing that we saw out of the Trump administration, and now the very first thing that we've seen out of the Biden administration is a lack of funding of some very, very key programs. And I think everybody needs to be respectful of the Biden administration because there's a lot unknown. But what is known is that shortfall is going to be picked up by the oligarchs. I mean, it is what it is. Or am I mistaken? What's your thought?
Well, no, because what's happening, our needs are so dire, and again, go to what has been said here today in our supply chains and all, that the government I'm going to use the word government broadly, is very understanding of the challenges that we have and what we have to do to invest to get out of it. And it's not just Jeff, and there's a lot of things that you can do that don't take a lot of money, but that can have a large influence going down the road. And those things are being invested in. But the problem is it's philosophy. It's just like, again, you have the left-right philosophical divide. On the left, if you're concerned about climate change, if you look underneath the rhetoric, it is, we only have this one world, and so we got to preserve it. On the right, and actually a lot of people, and it's more than just left-right, there's a tremendous number of people now that say that, no, that is not the right way, that we have a whole universe out there and we can expand and maintain civilization. But there's a fundamental, and this is why you see, let's don't fund NASA, let's fund all this other stuff. Well, it is our position that by funding space and technological development, all these problems that you want to fund the other direction will be solved. But it's a philosophy. It's not, oh, I want to defund space so the oligarchs can take over.